Super Smash Bros., Nintendo's ultimate all-star franchise. Ever since its debut on the Nintendo 64, this dream project of Masahiro Sakurai has been a fan favorite no matter the system. Even so, the question remains, what is the greatest Smash game of all time, Melee or Smash for Wii U? But first, a little history on the franchise. Since Super Smash Bros. Has started its life as a HAL Laboratory brawler prototype Dragon King under the wings of the talented game creator and workaholic Masahiro Sakurai, and then HAL president and future Nintendo president Satoru Iwata. Together, they had one aim: to create a platformer fighter which was easy to get into, but hard to master. Even so, in the beginning, the game lacked substance. It was first after the inclusion and then approval from Nintendo to include their greatest stars for Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 that the strength of this multiplayer franchise showed in both Japan and then in particular the United States. But let's not fool ourselves. Smash was just in its infancy on the Nintendo 64, and it was Melee on the GameCube that cemented the legendary status of the franchise. The numbers speak for themselves. Best-selling GameCube game of all time, 92 review score and 9.1 user score on Metacritic. Smash Bros. Melee was bigger, faster, and better in every way, shape, and form. And one of the reasons for this superiority was the flawless GameCube controller, which set the staple for Smash both casually and competitively in the years to come. Melee was followed up by Brawl on the Wii, which was superior in many ways and included the stress-inducing Smash Ball, but suffered a few problems. Namely, a slower pace, unbalanced characters, unstable online, and most importantly, random tripping which felt more or less like this in battle. As a result of these unwelcome changes, a large chunk of the competitive scene stood with Melee against the newcomer.
And then we have Smash for Wii U and 3DS, developed by Sora Limited and Bandai Namco, where Masahiro Sakurai's ambition was to fix the problems found in Brawl and find a middle ground by building on the legacy of its predecessors to create a Super Smash Bros. Game for all gamers, from the casual to the most competitive. This attempt was rewarded with a near identical score to Melee on Metacritic, 92 review and 9.0 user. So with this as our foundation for the fight, we've decided to go with the following battles to determine which is best: characters and stages, multiplayer versus mode, single player, controls, music, and legacy. This video game war between Super Smash Bros. Melee and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U is about to begin. Unlike Zelda or Mario, Super Smash Bros. Has never been a franchise subjected to radical, unrecognisable changes to its main formula. Smash remained a platformer fighter with many of the same stages returning since its inception in 1999. In other words, outside of graphical improvements, the games have been mechanically rather similar to each other, except for changes to the game's speed, characters, stages, and a few more. When it comes to their roster and stages, Super Smash Bros. Melee and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U have a number of Nintendo's most beloved characters and stages. The difference between these two, however, lays in the numbers. Where Melee had 26 characters and 29 stages, Smash for Wii U has the insane amount of 51 unique Nintendo characters and 46 stages, and that's excluding the optional paid DLC.
But do these numbers transition into quantity over quality? Yes and no. Smash 4 marks for a greater selection of characters and stages, but then again, most of these characters and some of the stages belonging to Shulk, Wii Fit Trainer, Lucario, Olimar, and Zero Suit Samus had not had their premiere in their respective franchises. This cannot be held against Melee, as there was no way for them to be in the game. To its defense, Smash 4 boasts, in addition to the above mentioned characters, 3 third-party legends: Pac-Man, Mega Man, and Sonic. Remember, we don't include paid DLC in the mix, but on the contrary, lack 2 characters found in Melee, Ice Climbers and Mewtwo, without having to pay extra for the last one. When it comes to the stages, there is a similar problem for Smash 4 called stage hazards that heavily impact the gameplay and result of battles. Good examples here are Wily's Castle, Norfair, and Guar Plains. Another thing we need to take into consideration are the technical limitations Melee had to deal with as a launch title for the GameCube in 2001. Some of the stages in Melee were better or less intrusive than the ones found in Smash 4. But when that is said, this is only the case for some of them, since in the broader frame, there is little to no doubt that the rich array of characters and stages of different sizes and colors, from the moment you boot up the game in Smash Bros. 4 to the characters and stages you unlock, are simply superior in every way, shape, and form to Melee.
Let's face it, we first and foremost play Smash to straight up crush our friends, showing them who's the boss. And in many ways, the ultra competitive flair of the series was ignited with a fast-paced, combo-heavy Melee. So Melee's multiplayer is obviously far faster paced than both Brawl's and Smash 4's, especially at the higher levels of competitive play. But does this strictly make it a better game? Let's break it down. In Melee's Versus mode, you have a number of different styles ranging from time, stock, coin, bonus and team battles. In addition, Melee had a refined tournament mode where up to 64 players or CPUs compete for the Smash Crown, and a special mode where you can tweak some of the conditions for the fights to come. And being a GameCube game itself, Melee's multiplayer obviously takes advantage of the impeccable and timeless GameCube controller, which even today is still considered the best choice for any Smash game. And at a high level, competitive Melee turns into a completely different beast, and might be the most technically impressive multiplayer of the Smash series due to its emphasis on lightning fast gameplay, long and intricate combo sequences, and advanced techniques such as wave dashing, L cancelling, dash dancing, and the extremely controversial, dare I say it, wobbling.
Needless to say, Smash for Wii U had some incredibly big shoes to fill when it came to multiplayer, especially after the, to some extent, competitive letdown in Brawl. Let us begin with the basics. Yes, we already know that there are more characters and stages in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, and that some of these are ruined by two big stage hazards. Then you have the matter of items, where Smash Bros. 4 simply has the benefit of inheriting items such as assist trophies and the almighty Smash Ball from Brawl. Playing with items is definitely more fun, but on the contrary, random in Smash 4 than Melee. In return, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U has an online multiplayer with two modes, for fun and for glory, that unlike Brawl, is much more stable when using an Ethernet connection. The possibility to stage online tournaments, or just jump into a ranked or non-ranked match, is a great way to interact with other players, whether you are a non-competitive or competitive player. Lack of voice chat during matches, though, is still the sad reality of Smash even on Wii U.
In other words, Smash 4's multiplayer is undoubtedly much more approachable for beginners and casuals than Melee's. There are a multitude of reasons for this, ranging from the overall slower pace to an almost universal reduction in hit stun, meaning combos are less long and unforgiving to new players. Because of these changes, Smash 4 focuses more on what is known as the neutral game, where neither player has a distinct advantage over one another, as opposed to Melee, where there's a stronger emphasis on punishing your opponent's mistakes. This makes the Wii U installment far more approachable for beginners because there's less opportunity to get completely curb stomped by better players. In Smash 4, nearly all characters have a far better recovery than in Melee, which is further augmented by the fact that edge guarding is less efficient. And of course, being on the Wii U rather than the GameCube means that casual players have the option of either a fast-paced game in 360p or a little slower game in 1080p 60 frames a second. So for the casual and non-aspiring hardcore player, we can easily hand this battle to Smash for Wii U. But then we have the question, which of the two Smash games is the best for a competitive player? Well, ultimately it really depends on what style of player you are. While the games are both fundamentally very similar, being Nintendo All-Star platform fighters, at a competitive level the games are incredibly unlike one another. It's no coincidence that outside of a select few players like Mewtwo King or ESAM, the top players of one Smash game don't also dominate the scene of another. At the higher level, these two are radically different platform fighters.
Where the competitive nature of Melee takes full advantage of its speed and heavy emphasis on combos, Smash Bros. For Wii U has a simpler control scheme that isn't as complex, but still sets apart elite players from those who aspire to become one. The inclusion of more stable, for fun, for glory, and tournament servers in Smash for Wii U made it possible to set up competitive players around the world against each other while sitting alone in front of the TV. Nonetheless, instead of dwelling over two radically different multiplayer modes with unique movesets, characters, pace, and blast zones, it is better to acknowledge that for competitive players, these two Smashes have two different playstyles and are only identical when it comes to the Smash name and the use of the GameCube controller, but in quite different ways. As a result, from a competitive point of view in terms of multiplayer, we consider this battle to be a draw. Each of these two games offer great multiplayer experiences, but in different ways.
Smash single player is much more than just knocking your computer friends off the stage in random matches, since each Super Smash Bros. Game since the N64 have come with a classic mode. The objective in these is to defeat opponents on your way to Final Destination against Crazy and Master Hand. With that being said, the struggle on the way to Crazy and Master is much more rewarding and involving in Melee than Smash 4, due to its variety of gameplay styles involved on the journey. However, in the grand finale that is the showdown on Final Destination, there's no doubt that the inclusion of Master Core on higher difficulties and Master Fortress from 8.0 and up, after defeating the Master and Crazy Hands, make up for a great 3-stage final challenge in the newest game. Next, you have the story, or more precisely, challenge-based adventure mode in Melee, which isn't found in Super Smash Bros. 4. Actually, there aren't any story elements whatsoever in Smash Bros. For Wii U, outside the classic mode and the character introduction cutscenes. In return, you have the Smash Tour in Smash for Wii U. Unfortunately, compared to the adventure mode in Melee, this one pales in comparison, and based on a single player experience alone, it isn't really worth your time.
Both Melee and Smash for Wii U have all-star modes, with the main difference being that in Melee, the mode is first there after unlocking all characters. In short, you can summarize this mode in Melee as duel matches against all the characters in the game. In Smash Bros. 4, the mode is available from the very beginning, but will be incomplete until the moment you unlock the other characters. Another remarkable difference is that in Smash for Wii U, you fight a number of opponents from a given generation at once in a historical chronology from present day to the oldest classics, which is better depending on what fighting style you prefer as a player. A stadium mode with similar events can be found in both instances, Multi-Man Smash, Home Run Contest, and two similar but unique target games, Target Practice in Melee and Target Blast in Smash 4. Furthermore, you will find event matches in both Melee and Smash 4, though these are radically different in execution. In Melee, the mode is streamlined. You get a set of challenges, complete these, unlock a set of more difficult tasks, and move on until you complete all 50 tasks, or 27 and Giga Bowser in adventure mode to unlock the ultimate battle against Giga Bowser, Mewtwo, and Ganondorf. In Smash Bros. For Wii U, however, the mode is laid out on a map and in some cases reveal a hidden route and co-op events.
Then you have the hunt for trophies in different modes. Melee introduced and hid a collection of these digital figurines in its many different single-player modes. However, unlike Melee, Smash 4 has an incentive to hunt for trophies, namely gold ones, and had two special modes to collect trophies more efficiently, Special Orders and Trophy Rush. If collecting digital toys is not your thing, then we can't forget that Smash Bros. For Wii U is the game that introduced the Amiibo figurines to the world of Nintendo. Their actual implementation is questionable, but having your own pocket rival that can grow and learn alongside you is a great way to get better at the game. Smash for Wii U also had a stage builder that, unlike Brawl's, was much easier to use thanks to the Wii U gamepad. Definitely a great addition, but still not exactly on Super Mario Maker levels of awesome.
In short terms, both games are proof to Mr. Sakurai's obsession to detail and value when it comes to these games. The sheer amount of content for single player in a platformer fighting game is inspiring. Melee and Smash 4 both hold incredible value to their single player experience, even when in many regards, one game is better than the other when it comes to certain modes. So the right question may be, which one is the most enjoyable to beat? Melee definitely has the most enjoyable classic mode and adventure mode and draws with Smash 4 in terms of many other modes, while Smash 4 definitely has the better set of challenges. There is no doubt that this is a close one, but in the end, we have to commend Melee for actually having a unique story campaign with varied level design, objectives, and multi-stage challenges and hazards. As a result, this battle goes to Super Smash Bros. Melee. Regardless of if you consider yourself a pro, if you've been playing Smash Bros. Since Melee, chances are you've had trouble letting go of the GameCube controller. Many people, including us, consider this controller to be the best for playing any type of Smash Bros. Game. It was easier to implement into Brawl, seeing as the Wii already had GameCube controller ports, but we wondered what Nintendo's solution would be for the Wii U. Luckily, they were fully aware of the community's desire to play Super Smash Bros. With the desired controller, so they released the GameCube adapter for Wii U, and it was even a part of the special edition for the game.
Even if you don't own one or enjoy using one of these glorious controllers, Smash 4 offers a wide array of other controller options, such as the Wii U gamepad itself, the Wii U Pro controller, the Wii Remote by itself or with a nunchuck, and the classic controller. Also, unlike Melee, the buttons can be remapped to fit anyone's playstyle. As for the characters' movesets, they remain relatively unchanged. Every character is equipped with their own set of standard, special, and smash attacks, which change depending on where you're holding the analog stick. Also, air dodging is completely different in both games. In Melee, while air dodging allows the player to move a small distance during the animation, it also puts the player into a helpless state afterwards. Smash 4 on the other hand trades this movement for the ability to air dodge as many times as you like without putting the player into freefall. Anyone can get good at either game thanks to their respective practice and training modes, which offer many different ways of customization. Make your opponent stand still, make them fight you, spawn more opponents, even slow down time to get to grips with more complex combos. Everything is at your fingertips in either game's training mode.
Speaking of complex moves, this is where things start to get complicated. The professional Melee players have found some highly advanced moves that not even we at the Commonwealth realm could replicate. In order to pull off these sweet aerobics like wave dashing and the shuffle, your timing has to be perfect by the frame of character animation. Advanced techniques like these were lost upon the transition to Brawl in Smash 4. Let's also not forget how much faster of a game Melee is. In Smash 4 and Brawl, the fighters feel like they have a sturdier weight to them. Even the fastest characters like Sonic and Captain Falcon feel very robust. Not to say every character is slow, they're just not as fast as they were in Melee, where each character moves with a feeling of haste not seen in any other game in the series. Having revisited Melee for the sake of capturing footage, I can confirm it feels much lighter and quicker than Smash 4. Despite the stark differences, both games accomplish one thing: they are easy to learn and hard to master. And in this case, Melee has more to master than Smash Bros. For Wii U ever will. Thanks to the ridiculously complex moves and higher speed, it makes for a better esports than Smash 4 while also being a great game for the casual crowd. Simply put, Super Smash Bros. Melee appeals to both the casual and hardcore, while Super Smash Bros. For Wii U will find more acceptance with the casual crowd than professional players. You can still kick some serious ass with both games, but the clear winner of this battle is Melee.
Overall, I believe that Smash 4 has the upper hand out of the two when it comes to the game's controls. While it's true that Melee does have many advanced techniques not present in Smash 4, there's still some to be learned in the newer games, such as perfect pivoting, extended dash dancing, ledge cancelling, wave bouncing, jump cancelling and more. However, I think that what gives the latter game the edge is the ability to remap your control schemes, a feature completely absent in Melee aside from toggling the rumble feature. I play a lot of competitive Smash 4 and personally I hate using the Z button to grab, so it's great that I can remap it anywhere I want on the controller.
Since the Smash Bros. Series contains characters and stages from just about every Nintendo IP, how could you forget the iconic music that goes along with them? You can't. In Melee, there was an extensive list of music new and old for each stage. Even though these compositions weren't original for the game, they were all recomposed to take advantage of the new sound hardware in the GameCube. Let's face it, you wouldn't want to hear the Hyrule Temple theme from the NES, and who can forget the Dreamland theme that was briefly made into a meme. These remastered tracks were basically designed to be more upbeat to match the tone of a battle between Nintendo characters. Sure, Melee was filled with great tracks from unforgettable Nintendo IPs, but Melee's original tracks are what truly made the game special. You seriously can't hear the opening theme and not get chills. Not only that, but the menu theme, battlefield theme, and Final Destination theme all truly make for some intense battles.
However, Sakurai knew just how much the fans loved music, to the point where he made it a feature in Brawl and Smash 4. The My Music section offered the ability to set how often different tracks would play on their respective stages. It's kind of unreal just how much thought Sakurai put into Smash for Wii U, making it one of the ultimate fan service games without sacrificing what makes it truly special. Did we also mention that the entirety of the Super Smash Bros. For Wii U soundtrack is almost 16 hours long? That's about 8 times as long as Melee's. It's understandable though, with a larger selection of characters and stages, you have to fill the quota on how much representation they deserve, and Sakurai likes to give every franchise an equal dosage of spotlight, well with the exception of Fire Emblem. With a great number of these arrangements remixed to fit Smash Bros, there are still a great amount of themes ripped directly from the games they're from.
Smash 4's original arrangements are good as well, but no other Smash game has been able to live up to those of Melee's. It could very well be nostalgia, but the chills we get down our spine every time we hear that opening theme don't lie. Thankfully, we're still able to get these chills by adjusting them in the sound menu. That's right, you can play Melee's menu theme in Smash 4's menu, which is an insta-win if you ask me. Both Melee and Smash provide some of the most spectacular original and classic arrangements from all kinds of gaming IPs. However, it is thanks to Smash 4's My Music selection filled with over 16 hours of compositions that make the winner of this battle a little too obvious. This musical battle goes to Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Every memorable game leaves a legacy, whether it be a good or bad one. Obviously, both Melee and Smash 4 are amazing games for different and similar reasons. Their remarkable cast of characters, their approachable difficulties, and amazing fan service. However, only one of these games hold a greater legacy in the hearts of gamers. Melee was one of the first games to launch on the Nintendo GameCube, and boy what a launch title it was. Why choose between a few different Nintendo games when you can get all the Nintendo characters in one package? We could go on about how great Melee is, but we already went over that in this video.
What's important to note is that shortly after its release, Melee became one of the most competitive fighting games in the esports scene, even to this very day. With the rise of Melee in this competitive scene, Sakurai was troubled by the immense skill gap between casual and professional Melee players, and set out to make Brawl more of a casual experience. Of course, this caused the professional players to just keep playing Melee instead, since it fit their desired experience. Nintendo of America issued a cease and desist to popular tournament event EVO 2013 to ban streaming of Melee tournaments. This action proved to be ineffective thanks to the heinous amount of backlash from fans and players, even from the Brawl scene. It was with Smash 4 that Sakurai decided to further embrace the esports culture and make the game fit for both crowds. There was even an invitational tournament for the game held at E3 2014, giving us this glorious moment.
I'm going to be able to come back up next time and kick your ass.
The year after proved less than glorious for Reggie, but we still love him. Unfortunately for some, the Invitational would be the peak of Smash 4's competitive scene. For those who played Melee, professional players found the game more resembling to Brawl, thanks to its slower pace and apparently a lower skill ceiling. So of course they went back to Melee, which is still playable at big tournaments like EVO to this day. However, Smash 4 has attracted many of the old Brawl legends in its competitive scene, as well as the rise of some new beasts in recent years, which has evolved into a really strong competitive scene, with the game even taking the hotly contested Sunday spot at this year's EVO 2017. At the moment, both games' competitive scenes are thriving, and it's a great time to be a Smash fan of either game. It's no real contest though, due to the resilience of its fanbase and how it's still going strong 16 years later. Melee definitely wins the battle of legacies.
It was an intense battle, but the results are in. with Super Smash Bros. Melee taking home the controls, single player, and legacy, while Super Smash Bros. For Wii U took the stages and characters, music, and casual multiplayer, but tying with Melee for competitive multiplayer. We have decided to reward these games with the following. Super Smash Bros. Melee wins the battle for competitive playing, while Super Smash Bros. 4 wins for casual playing.
I agree for the most part here, except for the controls going to Melee. In other words, for me, it's a 3-3 tie competitively and a rather comfortable 4-2 win for Smash Wii U when it comes to casual play.
There is no doubt that Melee was a revolutionary launch title in 2001, but there is something about 4's increased focus on approachability that makes it appealing for less skilled or new-coming players. In the end, both games are easy to learn and hard to master. It's just that Melee is a little faster and technically complex. In the end, it's all about having fun, something both games offer in different ways. And who knows, with the possible remaster of Smash 4 for Nintendo Switch, maybe we might see a rematch between these two in a future episode of Game vs. Game. But for now, be sure to subscribe to the Commonwealth Realm for more episodes of Game vs. Game and comment which games you want to go head to head in this total war. Super Metroid vs. Metroid Prime, or Super Mario Bros. 3 vs. Super Mario World. Sound off in the comments below. A very special thanks goes to our Patreon supporters listed here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos about the Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and other Nintendo franchises, be sure to subscribe to the Commonwealth Realm as we are reaching our goal of 100,000 subscribers. In the meantime, this has been the Commonwealth Realm, and we will see you girls and guys soon.